Hello, everybody. Happy New Year and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey. Broadcasters reflect on the fastest game on earth and coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State, 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Now, LCA was the site of last night's 2-1 victory over the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Red Wings are 11-3-2 in their last 16 games, and the Jets are kind of the opposite. They've kind of had a tale of two seasons. Being a President's Trophy winning team last year, Connor Hellebuck being the Hart winner, they have really had a reversal of fortunes, and the Red Wings, fortunately, have had a reversal as well, but in a good way. But last night, only 24 shots on goal for the Jets, only 19 shots on goal for the Red Wings. So Gibby was able to make 23 out of 24 saves. He's 9-1 in his last 10 starts. So I just mentioned that 11-3-2 over the last 16. Well, 9 of those wins were of Gibby. We got 2 for Taubes, 9 for Gibby. He's been doing great this year. Speaking on the special teams, the Red Wings were 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, and they did get one power play goal from Larkin. That was in the first period, so they're 1 for 3 on the power play. Larkin basically took a step forward from Debrincat as far as team lead in goals. They were both tied at 20 going into the game. Larkin had his 21st. We'll get more to Debrincat a little later in the Cat Spotlight. But last night, honestly, 6 penalty minutes for either team. The Red Wings had 6 penalty minutes last night. They had 6 penalty minutes on Sunday in their victory over Toronto. So really staying out of the penalty box, at least for extended period of time though. But yeah, like 3 times in the penalty box. One of those times was while they were in the penalty box for about a minute and 40 of that they shared the penalty box. So it was a 4-on-4. So that's even better to think about. That is the fact that we have been able to stay out of that box and really kind of not put so much pressure on our special teams, at least on the defensive side. So the other thing about last night's game is the fact that Appleton had a goal in his second straight. So good job, Appy. That's 2 straight goals, or 2 straight games with a goal. He's only been back from the injured reserve a handful of games, but yeah, hopefully he's starting to heat up, and we're starting to get offense all down, all across the bench, not just from the scorers that we're coming to expect to be scoring, but like people like Appleton are coming in and they're scoring as well. When you only throw 2 into the back of the net in the game, to see one's by the captain and one's by somebody who has spent a lot of the season, or at least a good quarter of the season in on the IR, that's a good sign. So tonight the Red Wings are in Pittsburgh to begin the stretch of their next 10 games. It's an away and home, as I like to call it. So they're going to be in Pittsburgh tonight. Then they're coming back to play the Penguins in a couple of days in Detroit. And the Penguins are 3-5-2 in their last 10. Now looking at the remainder of those 10 games that we have ahead of us, 2 of them are against the Senators. We haven't faced the Senators yet this season. The Senators are 5-4-1. They're a little down there on the division ladder as far as the Atlantic goes. But like I said yesterday, going into last night's game, there was only 9 team points that separated first from last in the Atlantic. So nobody's really out of it, even if the Senators, who were in last place going into last night. But even they're obviously not out of it, because you still have a whole half of a season left to play. After the Red Wings go to Ottawa to take on the Senators, they're coming back home to take on the Canucks for the second of the 2 games this year. They're 1-0 against the Canucks. They beat them on their second West Coast road trip. That was, wow, now we can say last month. But yeah, that was when they beat the Canucks last month in Vancouver. Canucks are 5-5 in their last 10. And then we got to go up to Montreal. Now, the Canadians are hot on our heels. They're 6-1-3 in their last 10. They beat us on opening night. So we're only, this is our second time playing the Canadians coming up. And we got to even that score there. And then we actually host the Hurricanes, and they're 6 3-1 in their last 10, and we're 0-1 against them so far. The Red Wings then will take on the Bruins, who are 3-5-2 in their last 10, and we are 1-0-1 against them on the season. And then coming back after the Bruins, they're going to take on the Sharks, who were 1-0 against the Sharks. We beat them in the first of our two West Coast games. It was a shootout victory back in, that would have been in early November, I believe. And then they are going to take the Senators on again, this time at home. And to finish it all off, it'll be the last of the 4 games against the Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs are 4-4-2 in their last 10. Like I said, it's our last game against them. We're 3-0 against them this season. So we'll just have to see how that happens. See if we go for the series sweep and we're able to take it on, or actually able to accomplish it. But that's our next 10 games. A couple of hot teams. Couple of teams that are going to be obviously a dogfight for us. And hopefully a couple of games where if we just do what we're supposed to do, we're going to come away with the 2 points. All right, so I briefly mentioned Debrincat earlier when I was talking about Larkin's taking the team lead in goals scored. But one thing I'm going to point to, I have mentioned the fact that the Wings are 11-3-2 in their last 16 games. And when a team is slumping, you often sit there and point to the fact that somebody hasn't been scoring. Their offense is off. And so you say that or maybe they're injured or something like that. So you'll say, oh, wow, well, I mean, that explains it. So-and-so has 0 points in his last whatever. Well, the Red Wings are still finding ways to win. And Debrincat is the second in team as far as points go. He's only second behind Lucas Raymond. So he's 1 goal behind Larkin, I believe he's 3 points behind Lucas Raymond for the team lead. So the fact that he's got only 1 point in the last 7 games, yet the Red Wings have still been able to be winning in these games and keeping their streak, not their streak, but keeping themselves hot, keeping themselves in winning mode. Really only lost 2 regulation games probably in those last 7 games. To Utah and to Carolina. So the fact that he's only got 1 point in the last 7 games, that's a positive to think about because we know he's got the potential to get hot. He's scored over 40 goals twice in his career. He's scored 39 goals once. So I mean, if you think of that, that's basically 3 40 goal seasons. He's on that pace this year. He's already got 20, and we're basically at the halfway point more or less. So he's on pace to get another 40 goal season. So he's got 273 in his career, 550 career points, and this is his 9th season. And I will say the one minus, and I guess I can't say no pun intended because, I mean, I'm walking right into it. It's part of my notes. But the one minus Debrincat, I would say, over his career is the fact that he is minus 56. That's his plus and minus. But he's always in there. He's got the team lead in power play goals. And then he actually has the team lead in shots. So he's the one taking a lot of the shots. Getting set up a lot by his old buddy, Kane. They're separated by about 8 years in age difference, but those two are just best friends, it seems, and they really have good chemistry on the ice. I believe there's, number 1 as far as American-born duos for, points combining with each other on a goal and an assist. So the fact that he's only got 1 point in his last 7 shows us that he's due, and that maybe we'll even see him start to explode offensively against Pittsburgh and in moving into these next 10 games. So I'm not too worried about the fact that he's only got 1 point in 7 games because we know, he basically went the first 8 games of the season without scoring a goal, and then he went on a tear and had goals in 4 straight. And he's had another string of at least 4 games in a row where he's had a goal in each of those games. So we got a sleeping cat, a sleeping giant, I guess. But yeah, I don't think it'll last too long with him, having this kind of slowness as far as offensive goes. Now, today, being the first day of 2026, it is also Thursday, and that means it's time for Throwback Thursday. And for today's Throwback, we're going to go to the last time the Red Wings raised the Stanley Cup. That's right, June 4th of 2008, Game 6 Stanley Cup Final in Pittsburgh. So speaking of in Pittsburgh, this is where the Red Wings last celebrated their Stanley Cup. And Game 6, it was a 3-2 win by the Wings. And then the three goals. These are going to be names that you're going to say, oh man, I remember that guy. But yeah, Rafalski scored one, Filppula scored another, and the Conn Smythe winner of that Stanley Cup reign and that Stanley Cup playoffs that year was Henrik Zetterberg, and he had the third goal. It was a goal that made the score 3-1. The Penguins scored another goal to make it a one-shot game, but in goal was Ozzy. I believe Ozzy was the one who was in goal on the ice when they won it, so he was able to hold it off. But looking at some of the things from that game, Zetterberg had 13 goals in that campaign when they won the Stanley Cup in 2008. And obviously very deserving of the Conn Smythe. 2 assists in that game 6, were done by Datsuk. The second of which was his assist to Zetterberg on the third goal. So my favorite all-time player for the Red Wings is, Pavel Datsuk. So to see him get his second ring as a Red Wing was a thrill for me. So talking about on the other side, Malkin had a goal and an assist for the Penguins, coming up short in that game, and Malkin ended up being the Conn Smythe winner. A lot of people remember, not in a positive way, but the Red Wings took on the Penguins in 2009 for the Stanley Cup Final, and it was the Penguins who celebrated on Detroit's ice Stanley Cup victory in Game 7, and Malkin. I'll say Malkin, but he won the Conn Smythe. So he had 2 points. He was obviously factoring in very much. Personnel-wise on the Red Wings, there was Chris Draper, Kirk Maltby, Nicholas Lidstrom, and then Holstrom was a member of both teams. So those are the 4 Red Wings who were basically on both the 97 Cup winning team and the 2008 Stanley Cup winning team. Absent, this is one thing that, I say the tile says Wings get over another hump. Between 2002 and 2008, the Red Wings had won the President's Trophy, I think, at least 3 times. Then they would run into some really hot teams. In 2003, it was the Ducks and Jean-Sebastien Giguère. 2004, it was the Sea of Red, Calgary Flames. And then in 2006, it was the Edmonton Oilers. So all these times, over and over again, the Red Wings were just facing just really hot teams. Oh, yeah, in 2007, they took on the Ducks. I'm pretty sure the Ducks and Wings faced off in 2007, and it was a pretty fiery Stanley Cup or Western Conference final, and the Ducks went on to win the Stanley Cup that year. So the Red Wings had been unlucky in that Western Conference, coming against some pretty hot teams. And this, I was saying, is they were able to get over yet another hump. The first hump was in '97 when they were able to, break that spell, that drought of 42 years without a Stanley Cup. But 6 years isn't a long time, but it seems like a long time when you're basically having a dynasty, that preceded the new class, people like Zetterberg and Datsuk. And, absent from the Red Wings between the 2002 and 2008 Cups were the, Hall of Famers Brendan Shanahan, Sergei Fedorov, Igor Larionov, Dominik Hasek, Chris Chelios, Steve Yzerman, Luc Robitaille, Brett Hull, and yeah. So there were there weren't the familiar faces on the ice in 2008, at least as far as those 3 cups over the 6-year period between '97 and 2002. But still, it was a team that was in the midst of the offensive machine that were the Red Wings. Zetterberg and Datsuk were really turning heads a lot, and they continued to turn heads for more years after that. But Yeah, that was the last time the Red Wings tasted the Stanley Cup champagne, and we'll see when the next time happens. It'll be the first time in Little Caesars Arena when they do. Uh, and we're hoping that that's going to be the site of it. I hope we don't demolish and open up another arena before the Red Wings win it all. So happy 2026, folks. Be safe out there. This has been Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. Again, I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, and LGRW from the PNW.